Hi, friends. This is Cecily. I wanted to give you a quick little snippet or chunk of information about a resource that I'm going to share with you. And this is a part of a training that we delivered to staff last year that you wouldn't have gotten because you were not here at Brown Station last year. So I hope you're doing well, and I want to connect with you around some literature and information. This will be cool. I'm going to send a link to this video, which I think you'll enjoy watching, which really just talks about the rising number of emergent multilingual learners, developing bilinguals, simultaneous bilinguals that we have here in the United States. It's a very affirming video that I think you'll enjoy watching. I'll send that link to you separately. But right now, what I want to show you is some data. And this data was created by doctors Virginia Collier and Dr. Wayne Thomas, who are both professors at George Mason University in Fairfax, Virginia. And their research has done some longitudinal studies about the effectiveness of different types of programs for our linguistically and culturally diverse students. And this data comes from an article, some research called Validating the Power of Bilingual Schooling, 32 years of large scale longitudinal research, in case you want to do a little bit more uh, digging from our biography or the bibliography. All right, so what you're going to see here on the left side is some data here from their longitudinal study, and you will see that there are many, many different arrows. The arrows that I want to point your direction to or your attention to are the program one, the red arrow, and the red line that I'm going to reveal in just a second, and then program six, which is a traditional ESL pullout program. And what you're going to see down across the bottom are the different grades. So first grade is a benchmark, third grade, fifth grade, seventh grade, ninth grade, and 11th grade. And right now, I want you to just make a prediction about which one of these programs, a two-way program, like the one we have at Brown Station, or a traditional pullout model, which one of those do you think will be most effective? As you can see, the black line is sort of going on a big hump up, and then the red line looks like it's going diagonal. I'm going to reveal the arrow in just a second. All right, great. Now that you've made your prediction, I'm going to reveal to you what their longitudinal study has revealed, which is basically that when a two-way immersion developmental bilingual program is correctly and implemented with fidelity, what you will see is that it is the most effective type of program that students can have. 50% of the time in their L1, their home language, their heritage language, and then 50% of the time in their L2, the English language here, for example, at Brown Station. What do you see on that program six, the ESL pullout that is taught traditionally? Well, what you'll see is in first grade, it starts off really strong. But as time goes on, you'll see that that program sort of peters out and loses its efficacy and its effectiveness for students. The average performance of native English speakers making 1 year's progress in each consecutive grade is that baseline. And what we're seeing is that getting to that baseline does take time. That's what the data is showing us. This is not a 1 year thing, a 2 year thing, a 3 year thing. It does take time for students to become fully bilingual and biliterate. But what you will also see is that the program that we have here, a two-way dual language program, is the most effective way for students to achieve that. Now, it's not the only way to do it, right? There's lots of other ways to do it. You can do it using a late exit program. You could do it with an early exit program and many other variations in between. Just so you know, a late exit program is a program where the L1 is started with, for our students, the L1 would be the Spanish, right? And those students would really work in Spanish and then become fully literate in that language. And then as time goes on, usually between 4 to 6 years, that language is eventually phased down or out, and then English or the L2 is substituted in. An early exit bilingual education program will be something similar, but the timeline for the L2 to replace the L1 is a little bit shorter, right? So that would be a 3 to 4 year window where the kids start in their L1, and then within 3 or 4 years, usually around third or fourth grade, that L1 is phased down or out. So just wanted to give you some context and some information about the different types of programs. But most often we're talking about the red line, which is program one, the dual language program that we are trying and building and perfecting here at Brown Station. And then program six, which is usually what a monolingual school is usually using, right? Where the ELD teacher will either push in or traditionally pull those kids out and teach them, support them, and then send them back to class. All right. All right, look here. You'll see here from Thomas and Collier that they have the long-term effects of a dual language education program. And what do you see here? The lowest observed dual language programs are in that 38th percentile. They're doing, pretty poorly. The, the most effective program is a program that is a two-way immersion program, a dual language immersion program that is well implemented. So that's the goal, right? We'll start talking more about the guidelines of a dual language program and what those look like and how we can more fully implement those. But the goal is to have a well implemented two-way immersion program. Why? Because it's the most effective program for students. All right. So, what makes a dual language program different than any other program? Well, I'm sure you have lots of ideas about that, lots of thoughts, and you may recognize some of the teachers and instructors and facilitators in this video. You may even recognize some of these students. But the one thing that I want to talk with you about today is when we think about our strategies and our supports that we are providing for students. Those could be in the form of sensory supports, those could be in the form of graphic supports, and those could be in the form of interactive supports. I'm going to give you a little present in your mailbox, which is a WIDA sensory graphic and interactive supports graphic organizer, which is what I'm showing you here. Okay, when you think about sensory supports, what would those be? Well, it's probably something like realia, manipulatives, pictures and photographs, illustrations, diagrams, magazines, newspapers, lots of videos, visuals, films, anything that they can see, touch, taste, well, not taste, feel within the learning space. All right. What about graphic supports? Those graphic supports are probably charts, organizers, tables, graphs, timelines, number lines, lots of different things that are going to visually help students organize their thinking in a visual graphic type of way to support executive function and helping them understand exactly how this information can be stored in their brains. All right. And then the last type of support would be those interactive supports, the strategic placement of pairings and partners or triads. Am I going to teach in whole group, or am I going to use some sort of cooperative grouping? Am I going to teach with a special software program with my slides, or anchor charts, right? With mentors, language peers, All of those need to be intentionally planned for so that your students feel successful and are successful accessing the learning. Now, the question that comes across the bottom of the slide is, how am I stacking those supports? All right, let's think about that. The idea behind that is, in order for students to get the glean, the grade level, engaging, affirming, and meaningful education, you will have to stack supports. That means provide them more than one support in order to be able to access the grade level content. So, the key concept that I want you to get out of this video right now is thinking about how you are stacking your supports. How are you ensuring that all of your students can participate meaningfully with not only the content, but also the language? All right, because the more supports you provide for them, the closer they're going to be able to get to that grade level standard. And I hope that this video has been helpful to you and provides you just a little snippet of learning that you can use as you plan for not just your emergent multilingual learners, not just your African American students, not just your students with disabilities, but all of the students in your class, each and every one, very thoughtfully and intentionally. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. And again, as I said, I'll be putting this graphic tool in your boxes. Please add it to your planning binders. Have a great day.